one of the other things I want to talk to you about was people that are near death or like suffering from diseases or cancer, experimenting with psychedelics and the phenomena of ego death.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I had that guy Andrew Gallimore in here who has that extended state DMT study where he keeps people on DMT for an extended period of time so they can sort of map out what's going on in that sort of quote unquote world that they're experiencing. What sort of science or studies are you aware of in regards to this research?
Yeah, no, this is awesome. So we did some research in the near-death area. Nothing new. We just we looked at people who had near-death experiences, and we replicated a common finding, which is that it reduces death anxiety. And what we found is that having a near-death experience reduces death anxiety because people's notion of what death means changes. So like some people see death as I'm just totally obliterated and annihilated. Other people, they see it as more of a continuous transition. It need not be to immortality, but they're like, no, I'm not. I am in a different state, and I'm not me anymore. But all of the molecules that make up me, well, they've been around forever, and they're going to go and mingle with the rest of the cosmos. And so what the near-death experience appears to be doing is to alter our conception of death to render it not an immediate and total obliteration. And that appears to be what the psychedelics are doing. First of all, there's one line of work with the terminally ill people. And these findings are magnificent. Sometimes a single dose of psilocybin reduces anxiety and depression in people that have had no prior drug experience.
Right.
And the same folks that are doing that research are now extending the range of people that are receiving psychedelic treatment. It's no longer just terminally ill. It's now being used for folks with PTSD, for example. And it really does appear to have remarkably palliative effects. Some of the folks that I'm familiar with, they talk about it in terms of the word cosmic connection comes up. Whereas people who have had positive psychedelic experiences, whether they're traumatized or not, what they often say is, I saw a completely different world. The culturally constructed world that I learned about and live in, that momentarily dissolved. And I got to see a world where I recognized that everything is connected. Everyone is related. And even though in the overall scheme of things, I'm an inconsequential speck of transient dust, I am still involved and always have been. In other words, if you're alive today, well, then you're descendant from the first living thing, right? And you're related to everything that's ever been alive, right? You're more related to me than a fig or a turtle.
Right.
Well, and that means we're going to be related to everything that's ever been alive. And, well, anyway, that's the kind of stuff I remember from my hallucinogenic days of yesteryear. That's the kind of stuff that's now being reported in psychedelic therapy. Just this really radical sense of total contentment, kind of based on this tripod of psychological well-being. It's awe, humility, and gratitude.
Humility and gratitude.
Yeah, but because basically there's this sense of awe, just like, wow, the world is infinitely large and beyond my comprehension, and yet here I am getting a peek. That's like awesome.
Right.
And then, again, the irony is that one result of awe is humility, which Americans need to look in a dictionary, because we see humility as something bad, like self-deprecation. But humility is just really recognizing your proper position in the universe. And in the overall scheme of things, we really are radically inconsequential. Right? You're born in a body not of your choice, in a time and place not of your choosing. You're here for a tiny amount of time, and then, off to the next generation. And the point is that when you get that feeling, it doesn't make you, it doesn't undermine your self-esteem. It actually at times makes you feel better. Because what that does is to say, well, maybe I'm not going to be an Einstein. Maybe I'm not going to be Mother Teresa or Jesus or fill in the blank. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to do things, and I can't know ahead of time.
So does that mean it sort of renders the whole notion that us needing self-esteem sort of less meaningful? Like it makes...
Yes.
Okay.
In my opinion. Or rather, how about it broadens the scope of what is meaningful and valuable. So there's this guy, Oliver Burkeman, and he calls it cosmic insignificance therapy. And he's not knocking self-esteem. He's like, yeah, you could be proud of yourself. You wrote a book. You made a shit ton of money. On the other hand, that obscures other aspects of our existence that might be psychologically debilitating. In other words, I might have been so busy worrying about whether I'm going to sell enough of these Worm at the Core books so that I could be on some Amazon list that, I didn't notice that the old woman who lives next door to me is struggling. Let's say it snows at our house, and I just didn't notice that there was a lot of snow. I'm saying this because we had neighbors who were elderly back in the day, and I noticed once, I'm like, God, I'm an asshole. I'm racing off to write a sentence. Why don't I pick up a snow shovel and help the person next to me? All right, well, so another example, you're like walking on the street, you see somebody, you've never seen them before. And for some reason, you just kind of look up and give them one of these, hi, how you doing? You're never going to see them again. You just like acknowledge the existence of a fellow human. Well, how do you know that person wasn't walking to the nearest bridge to kill themselves? And what you just did by your momentary connection with an at-the-moment struggling human is to not only save their lives, but what if they're the next Gandhi who's going to go on to lead Earth to a radical transformation that saves all of humanity? Well, the point that these folks are trying to make is that there's a whole lot of ways to have a meaningful life, and that we should become more aware of them and take greater advantage of those possibilities.
Yes.